Well, to assess the speech, I'm joined now by Brendon O'Connor from the US Studies Centre at Sydney University. Well, Brendon, with flagging approvals ratings, Barack Obama really had to set the right tone here and nail this speech. Do you think he did?
I think it was a good speech. It wasn't a great speech, but you've got to admire someone who's cool under pressure, and he was today. He looked relaxed. He delivered a very long list of things that he wishes to achieve, and I think people want to see that. They want to see substance from him. They know he can give a very eloquent speech, but they want to see something really done this year.
Jobs, jobs, jobs was his mantra. It was all about the economy and domestic issues. Not too much, though, about foreign policy. What did you make of that tactic?
Well, he'll be judged on the unemployment rate, and so will the November elections will be judged on the unemployment rate. So if it can be brought down from its currently 10%, if it can come down considerably from that, we'll look back on the speech and say it was a great turning point. If little improvement occurs this year, we'll say once again he set some ideas up that he can't follow through. So I think it's one of those speeches where people will be looking for the substance very much.
Do you think it would be a vote winner? Would people change their minds about him?
Not so much. I mean, you don't tend to get a bounce from the State of the Union addresses. George W. Bush certainly didn't. Clinton got about a 3% bounce from most of his speeches. On the foreign policy issues, well, the State of the Union addresses probably more typically focus on domestic policy, and I think this year Obama's attention will be much more on domestic issues rather than foreign affairs.
Well, he was certainly trying to talk up bipartisanship. He said that the Republicans needed to stop saying no to his reform agenda, but he didn't exactly offer them any sweeteners either. Do you think he did enough to try and provoke a change in attitude from Republicans?
Probably not. I mean, he wants to present himself as fiscally responsible by saying there's going to be a spending freeze on certain items in certain areas, but I think the Republicans will want more of an olive branch sort of extended to them on issues to do like education, maybe immigration. But talking about changing the culture of Washington is what all presidents do. They come in promising this, and very few achieve much in that regard because they're not in control of the Congress, and the Congress has got a mind of its own. So in some ways I think Obama could get sucked into that type of language about changing the culture of Washington, and he might be better off just focusing on his agenda a little more.
Well, I think he's up for a challenge. He's certainly sounded very ambitious still. Do you think the speech today will have much of a bearing on the midterm elections later on in the year? That's another big test for him.
Events, I think, will be the word. It will depend on the events of this year and whether his agenda seems to have changed things. Healthcare came late in the speech. If healthcare reform occurs, the Democrats and Obama can say, look, we've achieved something that Clinton and Carter didn't achieve. But it will depend on what's done. I think this will be a year when they'll be looking at the substance of his actions and the results in unemployment, and that will be really the big things to look for.
We'll wait and see. Brendon O'Connor, thank you very much for your analysis of the big speech today.
My pleasure.